So, do you ever just end up thinking, floating, doing absolutely nothing in the middle of space in Star Citizen? Probably not, because you, unlike me, probably know what you're doing and can actually fight. Here I am, right now, just trying to kill a sentry. So I'm sat here, completely stationary, for one big reason. I don't know what I'm doing, as is evidently clear if you watch me fly right now, without my joysticks. That's right, I've been playing for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks even, without my right joystick, which has absolutely destroyed my ability to play, and unfortunately at the same time, my enthusiasm. That's okay though, I recently replaced it, but replacing it and also being without it made me think of a very interesting video, and that's the one you're watching right now. How much can you get away with? Can you even play Star Citizen without a joystick? And if you do need a joystick, what's maybe the cheapest one you can get away with? How many buttons do you need? All of that and more coming up. Now, this video isn't to say you can't play without a joystick. There are plenty of players that do indeed play with just a keyboard and mouse. Probably a lot of you that just start out fresh into the game have this sort of combination. It is not, however, the best way to play, and in my opinion, no, you can't play with keyboard and mouse. It's not a fact, which is why I've clarified my opinion, but I will stress that I'm about to explain why the opinion I do think is true, and stands true for unfortunately the entire game. Whether it's been since 3.17, 3.16, 3.14, I think it's been a long time since we were able to properly play with just keyboard and mouse. Simply, it boils down to a few key reasons. The first one being that there's just too many buttons to press. There's too many things you can do. There's so much choice in Star Citizen, and there's so much fidelity to the actions and the environments and the cockpits that we inhabit that means you simply don't have enough buttons to press on one mouse, even on those epic MMO style ones, to do everything you might need to do, from countermeasures to target locking to target cycling to target pinning. There's just so many things you need to be able to do at the touch of a button, at the wisp of a hand movement. There's absolutely no way you're going to be able to use your keyboard alone for this unless you had some sort of epic style braille keyboard and you could just perfectly master the positioning of every single key, which, let's be honest, is extremely unlikely. Now, without a joystick, I find that you are limited to a few things. Being a gunner on someone else's ship, stealing someone else's ship in first-person mode, or maybe a bit of more casual exploration and trading, things that aren't very intense. Not to say that trading can't get intense, it's just not exactly, action-packed. Even that light stuff I found pretty much impossible to participate in because I'm just simply so used to using joysticks. I've been using them for almost 10 years now. And let me talk to you about the joysticks that I've been through, and maybe that'll give you a bit of an idea of what you can get away with. So let's start with the classics. I originally started with a T16000M, the original grey and green ones. I have two, one for left hand, one for right hand. I got away with this setup for years, and I'm talking from 2.6 era all the way up to 3.14. That's right, all the way up to 3.14. That's a long time, and I'll tell you how I got away with it. Simply, the T16000 doesn't have a lot of buttons. That's true. I like them though. I do like the mushy, squishy button textures, and I do find them really comfortable. I did a gentler spring mod to my right joystick, the one I would use for targeting, to make the joystick less sharp and tough when it comes to recentering. There's a YouTube video online somewhere you can find for that. And I also ran something called Joystick, which enabled me to turn one of the buttons on my left stick, which is the one I chose, to act as the Alt modifier key in Star Citizen. A lot of you might not be aware, but by default, Star Citizen allows you to have an Alt modifier key attached to any keybind. If you rebind using software called Joystick, one of your joystick buttons to Alt, you can then turn what is basically just a joystick with, 12, 16 odd buttons into one that has now 32 buttons. And that is how I got away with it for so long. But unfortunately, as the game developed, as the developers thought we should be punished even more, both our wallets and our hands, it wasn't enough. That's right, 32 buttons simply wasn't enough. Granted, it might have been if I could be bothered to move my hands more than an inch from their position as they're resting on the joystick, but I do believe that for comfort, ergonomics and all sorts of other health reasons, having as many buttons as possible just available to your fingertips when you're holding joysticks is imperative. That's probably why people do spend hundreds and hundreds on joysticks. I didn't have hundreds and hundreds though at the time I upgraded from 314. No, I decided to go out of my way and try all of the more expensive Logitech branded joysticks. And believe it or not, I was quite disappointed originally. The X56 Rhino, a complete trash tier disaster. I even went out of my way to try a Thrustmaster and I wasn't happy with that either. I settled for an X52 when 314 landed, and I was really pleased with it. It does have some issues, most of which boil down to the joystick sort of centering, the weak spring, and the very loud buttons, okay? They're not very well made, and although it does give you plenty of options, I don't think, and unlike my Thrustmaster here, the T6000, I don't think the X52 would have lasted me 10 years. I got rid of it though, not too long ago, for something even better than that, because it, like I said, did fail a little bit. I upgraded to a VKB. And I'll tell you the truth, I was really excited when it arrived finally after absolutely ages going through customs here in the UK. It's extremely expensive to buy a joystick like this from the other side of the world. It's not like Logitech or brands you can buy on Amazon. These are bespoke and crafted in factories far away for the purpose of either space sim or flight sim. They are expensive. Whirlpool is another brand as well you could check out, but I don't really think the extra price bumps of Whirlpool is really worth it for just gaming, especially in Star Citizen. No. So what does the VKB have that I wanted it to have? Well, it has loads and loads of buttons, especially here right in front at the very top of the stick where your finger and your thumb rest. This means that at the whim of a flick of a finger, I have access to lots and lots of options, especially again with that Alt modifier key. I've also got much better internals. I've got hinged axle springs rather than just one singular tension spring right in the middle of a ball joint. And I've also got really good tactile buttons. Not loud and clacky, tactile. Sadly, I can't promise that this joystick will be the perfect one for you. Especially if you have bigger hands, I think this joystick might not suit you. Unfortunately, I suffer from Donald Trump syndrome, and I do have quite small hands for a guy my size. I'm 6'5", by the way. That doesn't matter though, because I don't really want to hurt my wrist or upset my my repetitive strain injury, so I prefer to have a smaller stick that I place on my desk that it's not too tall. As you can see, I have 3 hat switches on this Pro version of the Gladiator Evo. I've got a thumb hat switch in the middle of the stick. I've got one analog stick that can actually switch between a hat switch and an analog switch, and an analog stick at the press of a button. I've got a hat switch on the top right, and I've got a center hat switch as well. I've also got a very intimidating big red button because every joystick needs a big red button, a dual stage trigger, and another dual stage trigger that can be pushed forward or backwards. It's actually absolutely packed. This joystick is so packed for the sort of space that it takes up, being a very small stick after all, and it doesn't weigh that much. I think, put on the weakest springs possible because I don't really like to have lots of fighting when I'm trying to move my ship about. And for the cost of this joystick as well, about 180 euros, that's about $200 or 179 pounds roughly at this time of year. I think it is incredible value. Getting it to work alongside Star Citizen also couldn't be easier. I don't know about you, but I do remember the days of having joystick and joystick keybinds completely screw up either every single patch or even during and in between patches. Because I'm now using 2 different sticks, the T16000 and of course this new VKB Gladiator, Star Citizen, and I guess Windows, sees them as individual sticks with their own inputs, which means no more getting confused and having to rebind my keys, which is fantastic. There's probably a lot of you out there that use 2 of the same sticks that know exactly what I'm talking about. I necessarily don't think I'll update my left stick, the one I use for throttle, because I actually really like the T16000 for its really smooth forward and backwards, I want to call it ball joint spring toughness. It's the perfect type of throttle without being an actual throttle. And do I think I'll upgrade from the VKB? Unless this video makes me loads and loads of ad revenue, or you decide to subscribe and even maybe join the channel as a member, I don't see any reason why I would need to. The VKB is perfect for me. Maybe you have a differing opinion. Maybe you think that actually key binding joysticks is loads of fun. I mean, just look at this. There's so many things to do, and you'd like to stick around with complex solutions. Let me know about that down in the comments below. I'd also like to hear about your joystick woes and pros. So if you have a different joystick in mind that you think is better than this VKB Gladiator for the price, let me know as well, because I'll be really excited to see what sort of, I don't know, stuff people are using to have fun in the verse. And if you enjoyed this video, if you would like to share it with your friends, click the like button and let me know. That would be amazing. I really appreciate it. I thank you guys so much for waiting patiently for the last 2 weeks for a video. And although this one is quick, it will be, and I think you can agree, quite informative to a lot of you. Maybe even helpful for those of you who are thinking about investing in a joystick or some sort of peripheral to really get yourself immersed and engaged in the game we all love. So until next time, guys, bye-bye for now. Oh, and don't forget to go check out my live streams, guys. Come on, come join in. Hella fun. You'll even get to see me use the joystick. It's really cool. Bye.